just ready to go on another patrol up along the Delaware, stop those Indians from coming in from Pennsylvania, and they've been doing that quite a bit lately. In fact, they got the Swartout family, recently, and killed Mrs. Swartout and some of the children, and captured Mr. Swartout and eventually killed him, and captured 2 of the children and took off. Hopefully we'll recover them soon.
I understand there was a raid at the Hunt family too.
That happened at the same night. Eventually they stopped at the Hunt place first, and Colonel Hunt wasn't there. And then they came over to the Swartouts after that.
I see.
Tell me your side of the story here.
Well, I understand that the raids have taken place, and the Frontier Guard has been called out to defend the frontier and the settlements along the Delaware, along Old Mine Road, to protect the settlers from further Indian attack. I understand Captain Gardner is forming a patrol to go out to the Wyoming Valley and take no prisoners.
Yeah, you got it. Well, hopefully when we go out to the Wyoming Valley, we'll be able to catch them in some of their villages and settlements, and maybe we can burn some of the houses and crops, etc., and maybe even recapture some of our...
Still under construction. The last fort was Fort Gardner. It's up in northern Jersey, up in northern Sussex County. Still under construction. I understand it's 100 by 100 stockaded walls with swivel guns mounted.
Yeah, fortunately, at Fort Gardner we'll have, I believe we should have 3 swivel guns, small bastions on each corner, afford a little protection for the area. And the swivel guns should be able to cover a good 300-yard swath as far as spray and shot.
Okay, now the next patrol we'll take out. We'll have the men patrolling between the forts, about 8 to 10 men between each fort.
Yeah, hopefully what we'll be able to do is we'll have 8 to 10, maybe even 6 to 8 men, so we can split patrols up a little bit more. And what we'll do is we'll try to have a patrol going between each fort, so maybe they can pass along the Old Mine Road, and that way they can all be back to the forts at night, so we can have that shelter and also the comfort of the fort. And yet during the day will give us plenty of time to patrol that area, that 4 or 6 miles between the forts. It should give us that adequate amount of daylight, and we should be able to cover it within that period of time.
I understand our paymaster, Hampton, has commissioned some breeders in Elizabethtown to provide us with dogs to help us patrol.
And actually, we'll probably be the first unit ever to patrol with dogs. I understand it's supposed to be something like 200 dogs.
Excellent. We should be able to smell the Indians out fairly rapidly. I understand they dress themselves as bear grease, so the dogs will be able to find them pretty rapidly.
The dogs should be able to do pretty good, because what we can't recognize, they can. And I understand the only ones they're trying to recruit are large, mean dogs. At least that's what I've seen in the communications that we've gotten so far.
Excellent, excellent.
What about this guy that's been attacked a bunch of people on Old Mine Road?
Oh, that was Sergeant Ward was attacked just a couple of days ago on Old Mine Road and killed. Just down below Fort John.
Yep.
He was on patrol and was attacked by a small band of Indians.
And then Van Tile, I believe, chased a group out onto Cherry Island, and they had a little confrontation out there.
An Indian over there,
I believe there was, Van Tile had 2 men killed, and what they did is caught some Indians returning from a raid.
On the way back to Pennsylvania.
On the way back to Pennsylvania, what they did is had a raft out on Cherry Island, or building a raft on Cherry Island to get across the rest of the Delaware. And what Van Tile did is actually set up an ambush for him. And unfortunately what happened is that some of the Indians on the island spotted some of our men and returned fire, and Van Tile lost 2 men.
We heard that yesterday a young man by the name of Pitchell and his uncle and his father were minding their own business on a wagon when they were suddenly attacked, not just by any Indians, but the Captain Armstrong, the most dreaded Indian of these parts, the main reason we're here today. What we understand is that this brave young man, not more than 12 or 13 years old, grabbed his father's gun, whereas his father's dead, lying there bleeding in the middle of the road, ran off into the woods. Captain Armstrong was so impressed that he went and chased him himself. Titsort turned around and fired his one and only load right at Captain Armstrong, who then fell dead right on the ground. He continued to run, found us at the nearby fort, we came back to look for him. We always bring our large and ferocious dogs with us. It was only a matter of an hour or two before we found Captain Armstrong, the dreaded Captain Armstrong, covered under a bundle of leaves, completely and totally dead. What we did then, having finally captured Armstrong and taken him out of our defensive picture, is we scalped him. And we sent that scalp. In fact, the scalp is still over there because our rider hasn't left yet. But we're going to send Captain Armstrong's scalp right to Perth Amboy to show the governor what the problem is out here. You see, every weekend it seems that there are parties of Indians who come raiding into these settlements. We have hardly a moment to breathe. We never know when they're going to jump out of the woods. The next person to be captured, or shot, or scalped, could be you.
Talking about patrolling. Talking about we patrolled the Delaware with canoes just here.
Well, we done 52 mile on the Delaware River, looking for Indians. We didn't find any. The water was clear and beautiful. The eagle. Saw a beautiful bald eagle that dove into the river, got his dinner. Other than that, geese, they're just absolutely beautiful. Our commander got wet.
There's certain things you don't have to tell, Ted.
Why? It was funny.
You don't look like the kind of guy that would turn away even bad food.
Oh, me, no. Nope. I'm well fed.
Each newsletter tried to write up something about the history of one of the buildings or of the area, about Jonathan Hampton and his connection with the forts along here during the French and Indian War. We had a series of forts running from Phillipsburg up to the New York state line, some 14 different forts and fortified houses, all of which are gone now. The only one that's left is a little Carmer fort up here. All the others have been bulldozed down or fell down. We recently had a dig up here on the hill at Fort Chappanack, which was one of the original 4 forts that was built during that period. The dig and it was trying to locate the foundation of the John Rosencrantz house that was within the foundation, within the stockaded area. And we think that we found the foundation, which confirms the fact that that is the fort site. We use overlays. Pam Crabtree of the New York University, who was in charge of the dig, used Jonathan Hampton's map and try to match it with a grid of the same dimensions to find the exact position of the foundation of the house, and we think we found it. We'll have to confirm it later on, probably next year. They'll do a little bit more. Well, the Walpack Historical Society that got started in 1984, we have a landmark preservation committee that tours the houses throughout the area, the historic houses, to check them for vandalism or deterioration because of the elements. And if anything is found wrong, why, we have a group that goes out and takes care of them, restores the houses, repairs what damage has been done, or attempts to do it. And if it's necessary, it's turned over to the park, and they do have contractors come in and take care of it. We can't do it ourselves.
Are there some good books available in the library, or in the bookstore people can buy on?
Well, we have books that we have published, particularly one on this house called about the Van Campen house. We republished the Minisink book. We republished the book on the River Road over by Hanover in Pennsylvania. So we try to restore and republish books that are out of print that deal with the area. Little booklets like Tramp on His Travels, which was written by Warren G. Hurst back in 1895, and he tells about walking down the old mine road and stopping at these various houses and the history of the people that lived here at that time or back another 30 or 40 years. And these are all books that we like to keep, accumulate the information for our society. Newspaper articles, we research and dig out newspaper articles. When the park took over this house, they had the history of it, that it was built in the 1750s. We found out from a newspaper article of 1908 that we dug out that the extension on the house had a date of a cornerstone in it, dated 1742. They stated in it that there were 7 fireplaces, which confirms to me that that part was built first, because when the chimney in the end of this house has 3 flues in it. Why would it have 3 flues if there's only 2 fireplaces in this section of the building? It accommodated a fireplace that was in the other building. And they took the chimney off that part of it when they built this, added this to it.
As you see, Fort Gardner was actually the last fort built in the line of forts. It was constructed by our commander, Captain Richard Gardner, to protect the settlers that were obtaining land leases from the provincial governors of...